Thank you, Andrew, for coming in. It's been a busy couple weeks for you.
Yes.
All right. So they were pretty focused in on Mike Vrabel. We haven't had your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel?
My thoughts in column at the Boston Herald were right coach for the right time. A guy who's been here, not as a player, but a guy who's been in the chair before, knows how to rebuild a culture, kind of raises your floor, and that's what they need right now. And he even said this in his press conference, that he's not sure the Patriots are good enough right now to take advantage of bad football.
That was the number one thing I took away from that press conference.
Best quote. And that's who Mike is. It's who he's always been. Like, no one busted Belichick's balls more than Mike Vrabel. He's going to tell you what he thinks. What he thinks is often pretty smart, and that's his assessment of the Patriots. So when he walks into that building, they're automatically better. And my takeaway after the press conference on Monday was he's kind of walking the walk, not only with that comment, but just as Gerard said once upon a time, you want to connect with players, develop relationships. When he walked away from the podium, the two closest people to him were Robert Kraft, his new boss, and his wife, Jen. He went by both of them. Embrace, big bear hug for David Andrews, Joe Cardona, two captains, and then went back. And I think that, to me, is like what you see is what you get with Mike, and they need everything that he's about.
Did they miss out on a chance to reset the way they do things? Because that was my takeaway from this. They hurried through the Rooney Rule portion of the interview process. They threw a token interview to Ben Johnson, but it was clear they were locked in on one guy, when in reality, the way the Patriots have done business over the last 4 or 5 years hasn't worked. I mean, they had missed a golden opportunity to speak with everybody, get ideas from other places, and maybe retool the way they do things top to bottom.
Yeah, you know what's funny, John, is when Doug and I authored our story exactly a week ago about what happened behind the scenes, there was a quote we didn't include because you get a lot and you trim it down. What's the most pertinent, best information that we have? But someone told us you can't expect the first-time head coach to be your savior. What I think this search said is the Crafts view Mike Vrabel, second-time head coach, going on his 7th year in that job, as a savior. Because like you said, they eschew the opportunity, and I criticize them for this in the process, of just chatting with the best minds in football, from the best teams in football. What do you think of us? How do you do your business? And at that time, you can steal those ideas. So even if you do end up at Mike Vrabel, be like, hey, Ben Johnson told us about this. What do you think about this?
Right.
Hey, we heard from Aaron Glenn. He was talking about this defense. Have you ever thought about that? He played like you. He's older than you, coached just as long as you. What do you think about this? And stuff that you can even just incorporate analytically, sports science, whatever it is. They said, no, Mike Vrabel's good. He's a savior. He'll do this all for us. And right now, as we kind of understand it, reading some tea leaves, he has all the power. So he better be the savior.
Okay, so they felt obviously that they couldn't whiff on him. They figured that they needed to get him right away, and so they decided that they weren't going to do these interviews, and they decided to completely focus on him. There are other teams, and all these other teams, in fairness, have not had the success of the New England Patriots under the Crafts. These are worse franchises, but they have cast these super wide nets. All right? From what you just said, do you think it was necessary for them to do this as quickly as they did? Like, was there a because we heard Vrabel told Brady, this is just, people said, Vrabel told Brady, I'm going to the Patriots, like, don't bother, like, interviewing me. Was it necessary to do this? Like, if they hadn't done it by now, do you think Vrabel would have gone somewhere else?
I don't think so, but I also think as much as we can fairly criticize the Crafts and their process, the bottom line is, in my opinion, and certainly theirs, you got the best head coaching candidate on the market. You can't do better than the best. So to them, it was like, let's just get him in here.
You think he's the best?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not because I don't think Ben Johnson doesn't have the potential to be a franchise-changing head coach. He's been an outstanding coordinator for a long time. Super smart guy. People that you talk to around him will deliver harsh messages to players. And it's not just about the brainiac that he is. But I'm done betting on potential. Like, I wrote that after the Chargers game, going, hey, look, if Mike Vrabel wants this job, Patriots have one more game. Just give it to him. Like, get Gerard Mayo out of here. And so, to me, he was the most experienced, proven, winning record. Third best record, by the way, as an underdog when he was in Tennessee across all head coaches from 2018 to 2023. That, to me, caught my eye. That's a good coach.
Okay, because you could make other arguments, like he inherited a good team and kept it kind of the same.
I don't think it was that good, though.
Okay, but they were 9-7 the 2 years before he got there, and then they were 9-7 the 2 years after he took the job.
Right, so it's a middling roster, and you go back, I think there were maybe 3 Pro Bowlers in that first team, one of which was a punter, and you've got a quarterback in Marcus Mariota, who we all know is now journeyman backup. Then he's supplanted by the great Ryan Tannehill, who has one really good season in 19. But otherwise, like, this is a head coach who was 9 games over 500 with 2 bad seasons at the end and never had an elite quarterback. I don't know how many coaches do that.
All right, so we're going to do this, and the fan base is going to do this. If the Patriots are going to be, you would think the Patriots are not going to be reasonably make the playoffs next year. Hopefully they'll still be. You only have to be like around 500 around at the end of November to be in the conversation. That's
In the
kind of
mix.
in the mix.
Yeah.
Now, some teams don't do that. You would hope the Patriots do that next year.
There's a path. There's a
But
path.
if that's all you need is to like have games that like technically matter.
After Thanksgiving, yes.
Yeah, believe
That'd
me,
be nice.
it's no fun when they don't. So, if say Vrabel takes this job and the team is not as bad as this year, but still bad, like they can't fix everything that they have, and there's some other coach that was hired in this cycle that is on a bad team, and that team happens to be like Washington, and takes off a little bit. All right, how are the Crafts going to handle that whole? Are they going to be able to sit through that whole thing? Because they pay attention. I mean, they do. I know. The more I'm hearing, the more I know they pay attention.
Yes. A lot.
Yeah, a lot. So when the whole conversation is, well, look at Arthur Smith. He took this job and he had coaching experience, and now this team is red hot. How are they going to handle that?
It's a good question. I don't think it'll happen because I think this was, if not the best, at worst, top 3 jobs that you could have right now. So if that other coach goes and takes off with, say, the Raiders or the Jets or, the Bears are probably comparable to the Patriots, like something else happened, I think, besides the head coach to kind of raise the tide that lifted all the boats around him. Because
sure, yeah.
If you're looking
like
at
Jaden Daniels came to, I mean, that's a big. It's not just the coach. I mean, Jaden Daniels is the reason that franchise is so good now. But it just happens it coincided with the coach.
But I'm glad you brought up Washington because I think the situation the Patriots find themselves in now is comparable to where Washington was a year ago. You need some organizational competence, some upgrades across the organization, not just in the coaching staff, but in the front office, sports science, all these different departments. You get an experienced head coach, not Dan Quinn, but obviously Mike Vrabel. You have a ton of cap space. You have a rookie or second-year quarterback, and now you're able and willing to surround him with players in free agency just to say, ready, set, go. Plus a last place or third place schedule moving forward, so the Patriots aren't fighting that anymore like they have been the last 2 years despite having a crappy record. And to me, I think there's a Commanders level jump in here possibly for the Patriots in 2025. If another head coach has success, whatever. I just don't think anyone's arguing today when you had to hire him.
No.
Arthur Smith was better than Mike Vrabel. That happens, whatever.
Yeah, there's no question.
But a Commanders level jump, that means you're into the divisional round of the playoffs.
So potential. I'm just going to underscore this before this is clipped. Hello, YouTube. And everyone watches this.
Get ready to clip this.
If you look at that schedule, and there's a lot of free agency to go through, obviously the whole draft, yada, yada. Panthers, Raiders, Giants, Browns. Like, they don't have to go to the West Coast. They've got, again, a coach who's going to walk in and raise the level where how many games we watched last year? They were 2-6 and one-score games. Oh, 1 or 2, and we're not doing if you just take this out, Gerard Mayo argument. No, legitimately, they could have been, probably should have been, a 5-6 win team this year.
Right.
Okay, give them that now, plus a couple extra wins with all the additions you're making in free agency. You're now, as we said, in the mix.
Right.
Okay? You also probably benefit, as Washington did, from a weak division. I'm not guaranteeing any of this is going to happen.
Why is the division weak?
Well, why should they have been a 5 or 6 win team this year?
I mean, just don't let Anthony Richardson take a Sunday drive for 5.5 minutes.
I think your record is what your record is. You shouldn't have won that first game of the season.
No. It's not. It's that if you had a more competent head coach,
better coached.
If you were better coached, you would have won the game.
situationally.
Which is, that's like saying, the record is what the record is, and Mayo's out. But the argument is, if you had a competent head coach, could you have found a couple more wins? That's just the argument. It's a hypothetical.
Well, you know what, too? When you look at, and this is not,
but why is the division weak? I just want to ask, why is the division weak?
I mean, you beat the Jets every single year.
Yes. No, take them out of it.
Could be COVID. It could be you have the worst stretch of your franchise in 30 years. You're still beating the Jets.
Yes.
The Dolphins have a quarterback now who's one hit away from maybe his career being over. And when he doesn't play, we saw that they were not just a below 500 team. They're a team that belongs in the top 5, top 10 of the draft. Again, not guaranteeing this is going to happen. Obviously, you
split with Miami and the Jets. Maybe you beat the Jets twice, and then you got to split with Buffalo. I don't know. Forget it. That's just nitpicking. But you think that so weak division,
make the playoffs.
So you think they could make the playoffs?
I think they could. Yes. And I think, honestly, given everything that they've learned, what they should do in free agency, and we'll see, that's not a guarantee, as we know that they'll spend big bucks, that we should expect that out of them. Okay? Like, you've been through the doldrums. You've overturned head coaches. You've got a franchise rookie quarterback. You've officially reset all of your books. Okay? There's a new head coach who knows what he's doing. I don't know what more excuses there are. Their talent is what the talent is, but no one around here is expecting or asking for a championship. Push for a wild card spot. 14 out of 32 teams make the playoffs in this league.
Let's break, and then I want to find out what they need to do in the offseason to make that happen.
Out of your mind.
You're
out
absolutely
of your mind.
insane for even thinking that.
It's not unheard of.
In the mix.
No,
You get some. You get
in the
some,
mix.
Yeah, you stay in the mix. And
You've covered every one of these games, and you've forgotten what the roster looks like.
Well,
That's
that's what
how
we'll
crazy
get
it
How
into.
is that possible?
That's what we'll
That's
get
what
into.
free agency and the draft are for.
But perfect. Everyone hits home runs there.
We will figure out what Andrew Callahan, who's very bullish on the future of the Patriots,
What he's been smoking. Next.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.